We are. So let's move on to the introduction. So let's get started with an introduction to our speaker. Please welcome Angelina Fomina. Angelina is an entrepreneurial product leader that is originally from Toronto and graduated from Queen's Commerce. After graduating, she co-founded a data software as a service company, growing to 12 employees and 7 figures in recurring revenue, and was a founding member of a nonprofit that helps university students find internships in Asia, the Cansbridge Fellowship. Currently, she works at Facebook as a product manager and helped launch a new virtual reality headset, Oculus Quest 2, as well as a child and teen safety product across all apps, including Instagram. Prior to this, she also worked at Shopify. She now lives in California between San Francisco and Los Angeles, and in her spare time enjoys traveling, outdoor skiing, and teaching product management. Thank you for taking out your time on your Saturday to join us here today. And now I'll be passing it over to Angelina for her talk.
Cool. Thank you so much for that great introduction. I'll just share my screen now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's working.
Awesome. Cool. So in today's presentation, sorry, let me just go back a little bit. Sorry, I think something's wrong with my computer. It keeps like turning on a black screen. So let's do this. Awesome. So today I'll talk about just introduction to product management. And I know there's quite a few of you here, but I would love to make this conversational. So if you have questions throughout, please interrupt me, type in chat, or even like unmute your mic and ask the question. And I would be happy to answer it. And then of course, at the end, we can also hold some time for questions as well. So today I wanted to cover what is product management, what does a product manager do? And then also how you can potentially become a product manager yourself. I know we have maybe roughly 20 minutes left, so we might not be able to get through all of it. And if you guys are interested in one portion versus the other, like for example, how to become a product manager, I can skip to that. So, is it muffled for everyone else, my voice, or just?
It sounds fine to me. I don't know.
Cool. Well, hopefully that resolves. Maybe I'll just go like this so you guys can hear me a little bit better or speak louder. So how did I become a product manager? It's been a winding road, as in the introduction, there was no straight path for me to become a PM. I actually studied Queen's Commerce, graduated from business, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I tried accounting, I tried finance, and those things just were not for me. So at the time, I didn't even know product management as a career existed, but I really liked my classes in project management, for example, like process related things. So when I graduated from school, I decided to just jump into entrepreneurship directly and start building things on my own. And that's how Parsub, the company, kind of came about. And we grew the company to $1 million in recurring revenue, as well as 12 employees. And then after that, when we decided to kind of close the company down or move forward from that, because we didn't see any more growth, I joined Shopify as one of the first 10, 12 PMs, I think, at the time. And Shopify didn't really have a lot of PM talent in the Toronto area at the time. So they were really taking a bet on entrepreneurs or people with startup experience in the past to come in and kind of be like the mini CEO at Shopify for different products. That's also when I taught at BitMaker, which is now General Assembly. And then after a year, I started getting recruiting emails from Google, Facebook, Dropbox, companies like that, because they saw Shopify on my resume. And it's been a lifelong dream of mine to move to California for the weather, for the career opportunities. I can answer that question later as well. And that's when I decided to work at Facebook. So that's a little bit about me. Quickly, why is PM so popular? I feel like everyone I know wants to be a product manager nowadays. And very quickly, I think it's because of influence, right? It's one role where you are able to see something from 0 to 1, make something a reality. You'll never get bored. So the products are just so different. Like even if you look at my portfolio of different products I worked on, they have nothing in common. So you can call me a generalist product manager, like from VR to enterprise to consumer. You basically just learn tips and tricks that you can apply to different products, which kind of brings me into the next reason, and that's you really can create the future. Like if you're interested in AR or if you're interested in self-driving cars, whatever it is, like you can become a product manager and really learn about that space and try to make a difference there. Another good reason is career growth. So a lot of PMs can then have a trajectory to become directors of product, VPs of product, then CPOs and CEOs, or you can always switch and work for a startup in like a GM role or something like that. But there's a lot of flexibility similar to consulting, like what you learn as a product manager can apply to a lot of career path down the line. So what does a PM really do? And let me know if you guys already know this. But first I'll cover like, what is a product? A product is something that solves a problem for the company, and it's anything tangible that a company can actually make. So you as a product manager own that product, and products are divided into actual products themselves, features, and experiments. So you can be kind of head or lead of product, maybe for the entire iPad. I think that would be more like the VP in the room that would have an entire organization for just the iPad product. And then there will be different groups of product managers that are responsible for individual products like the App Store, iTunes, books, Safari, things like that. And then those products can be even more so divided into features. So if we just take iTunes as a product group, within that product group, you can have maybe like 20 different PMs working on different features of iTunes. So you can have multiple PMs on search, payments, browse, radio, and then you're kind of responsible for like a part of the puzzle, and you are responsible for talking with other PMs and collaborating with them together to make the whole like iTunes or iPad product come to life. So that's usually how product managers work in practice. And another thing I should mention is that product managers are not just looking at features, they're looking at benefits that their product will provide to their users. So, we just said the iPad is a wonderful product, but why? Like for somebody that could be a babysitter, a nanny, or a teacher, they can be an educator. So giving your kid an iPad could actually have more benefits than just the iPad itself. Or a car, like an adventure vehicle, something that can take me camping or hiking and things like that. So when the product manager is building these products, they don't just think about these features and experiments. They really do think about what are the different benefits for the different types of users that I am building for. Product managers help their teams grow or ship and grow products. One key lesson I've learned in my career is that PMs decide the what and the why. So the reason behind why something exists, while everyone else on the team decides the how. So the designers, engineers will decide, how do we implement this? Whereas the PM really is the person responsible for, making sure that there's specific goals for the product, and defining what needs to be delivered. The analogy I like to use is if you're swimming from like one island to another, the PM is kind of in front of the pack, leading everyone where to go, and everyone else can be like in a boat, in a canoe, in a floaty, in whatever device that they choose to like actually cross the river with. And the PM is just making sure no one drowns along the way. They're making sure that everyone in their different canoes and kayaks is actually getting to the same place and no one's going in the wrong direction. And if they do, PMs kind of correct course, making sure everyone swims towards the same destination. PMs also find the right product to build for different customer needs and business goals. So both of those things are quite important for the PM to take into account. And it's completely different how a PM builds product for an early stage company versus a later stage company as well, or not even a company but product. So there's a lot of different products either in the early stages or the later stages. And in the early stages, PMs create new products like right from scratch, like a new vision for something. For example, for me, that was Instagram. Parental controls, we never had that. Or for Oculus, it was almost like rebuilding iCloud for Oculus, or new Messenger for Oculus and things like that. That's 0 to 1, and people usually have a different way of approaching that than if the product already existed. Let's say you join a team and they have a recruiting tool that you're working on, and you just need to see like, what are the bugs, what are the new features that we can add and enhance and improve. You also manage the full life cycle of the product from start to finish, like I mentioned. So even if it's a product that is in the later stages already, you still take the idea of an improvement from 0 to reality. And you act like a mini CEO, but without much direct authority. So you don't actually manage anyone. You can't really tell anyone what to do. You don't have a lot of people reporting to you if you're just an entry-level position, but you have to kind of be responsible like a CEO, and then use a lot of different influence tactics to ask people what is the right what is the right approach, bring everyone together, make sure they agree on the vision. So tactically, as a product manager, you spend a lot of time in meetings. I would say like I start meetings at 9 a.m. and I don't end them till 5 p.m. And you're constantly just like presenting and bringing the vision to different teams, or working with your specific team, and then going to higher ups and also selling them on the vision as well. Which leads me to the startup difference versus the larger company difference. So when I worked at Helpful, which was a startup, and I directly reported to the CEO, it was really me, the CEO, and the CTO that were kind of making all the decisions. And we would meet Friday. We would work through what difficulties did we have, what blockers did we have, like what do we want the engineering team to do next week. So really the only two people I needed to convince is the CEO and CTO. But the problem there is the CEO is usually like really, really embedded in every detail and every decision, especially if the company is like 10 to 15 employees. So like the CEO almost acts as like another PM and someone you're always like negotiating with, trying to convince and stuff like that. And then at a startup, you just kind of jump in and start doing a lot of different things and wearing a lot of different hats. So even though you're a product manager, if there's no one to do user research, you're the one that's learning how to do that. If there's no one to do marketing campaigns, you're learning how to do that. And you have kind of more direct access to customers. You're able to talk to them one-on-one a little bit more and really feel the direction of the product a little bit more. Whereas at a larger company, this is how stakeholder management looks like. I would say I talk to Yeah, I talk to about 200 people on a weekly basis. And my meetings range from 10 people to 100 people that I'm presenting to and trying to align. So I could have my own team of, let's say 20 engineers, data scientists, designers that are all working on different parts of the product. But then I also have my partner teams, which are all the different product managers that could be influenced by what I'm building and their team. And then I also have like the director level, the VP level, legal, privacy, policy, product marketing, go-to-market specialists, salespeople, and it's just like it goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of strategies and techniques you use as a product manager to guide different groups of people. So what strategies you use to align and make sure your core team is doing well is different from how you talk to directors and VPs to how you talk to maybe other what we call external functions like policy, privacy, and legal. And there's also a lot more barriers and hoops, like you need privacy reviews, you need legal reviews, you need a proper go-to-market strategy, you need to make sure you're properly timing when you're releasing the product. So there's definitely a lot more process involved. So PMs also kind of focus on strategy and execution. I like to say 40-60. So even though you're the one that's setting the strategy and the vision for the product, a lot of your time could be spent on very small details. So you're constantly fluctuating between the two. Like you can have one meeting about what do we do 5 years from now, followed by a meeting of, oh, we don't really know which feature to cut. Designer wants one thing, engineer wants another thing, and they're arguing over like the tiniest detail and the tiniest feature. So you constantly have to move kind of in and out of the big picture, of the bigger picture and detail-oriented approach. Cool, maybe I will jump into how do you become a PM, just for the sake of time, because we have only 7 minutes left. So first, where do PMs come from? I've seen them come from a variety of disciplines in my career. Somebody could be in consulting and then switch into PM. Lots of entrepreneurs, so people that are ex-founders, are typically the path after you start a company is to go into product management. I've seen engineers switch, especially the ones that like to spend more time talking to people and organizing them than writing code. Usually engineers that like to spend more time with people choose product management, or they're more product oriented, more consumer oriented. I've seen people switch from like product support or like specialist roles. For example, there was this girl on Groups and she was a customer support rep there, and she knew so much about the customer that eventually she was able to move into the product role because she already knew what she was doing with the customers and what their pain points were. So there's a lot of different ways to make it into product management. I think what I like to say is you should always look at what are you good at, and what do you like doing, and really ask yourself an honest question like, will this really be product management? And really understand your reason why. And then also look at all the different kind of skill sets that you need to be a product manager, and look at your strengths and then improve your weaknesses. So as a PM, you might be really good technically, like you might actually be an ex-engineer and that will give you an edge, but that means you have to learn about all the other different functions like design and strategy and interpersonal skills of how to talk to management and project management and things like that. Or you can be a designer or a more design oriented person that just comes easy to you, but that means you have to kind of really brush up on all the other skills. And I can send some resources to you guys afterwards that I've used, but really what I did was literally read books in every single category. So if it's like about data, I would read about lean analytics and do specific courses in A/B testing. If it was in tech, I taught myself how to code badly, but well enough to understand what engineers are going through. And a lot of the stuff you can also learn on the job, but if you have one core strength, you can definitely play to that. The next step is learn by doing. So learn how to bring things from 0 to 1, because that's really the most important skill. Also, it will help you learn something tangible, like maybe coding or marketing or sales or things like that. So some of the things I recommend people do is develop their own app. It doesn't have to be, something that makes millions of dollars, but just getting something out there on the App Store, or maybe just a website of some kind that you see like 100 people use is already going to guide you through literally that like 0 to 1 process that you do as a product manager all the time. You can even start your own Shopify or Etsy store, your own blog, your own Instagram account, whatever it is, like TikTok account, to like try to make videos for a specific niche. It doesn't have to be related to code. It could be creating your own course on Udemy, for example, as well, or even as like a meetup or a club, something like that. Again, will give you that experience of building something 0 to 1. Some other tips is, I feel like people really want to get into PM right after they graduate, which there's a lot more possibilities to do that nowadays through like associate PM programs. I know Instacart has them, Amazon has them, and things like that, but they're super competitive. So I see a lot of people kind of not getting them and saying, I'm never going to be a product manager again. Like, that's it. It's kind of becoming the same like as accounting or finance internships were like when I was in school, and that could be super demotivating. But a lot of product managers are actually have a lot of experience in the industry before they become PMs in a different area. So some of the things you can do is just be a generalist at a startup. Like you can pick startups of 10, 20 people and just join and say, I'll do anything and everything for you, and learn that way. And then you can just ask them for a title of a product manager and start doing more and more product work. Just having PM on your resume and getting that title on your resume any way possible, I think is really, really helpful to open doors. Entrepreneurship is another thing. Like if you start a company on your own for a year or two, you have more of a chance of switching to product management after, because you have that tangible example. You can also work on product teams. So you can be like a data scientist or a business strategist or an engineer at a product company, and then try to transfer from within. Transferring from within is really difficult. It takes a lot of time. I've seen people do it. I think others have had more luck of like working for one company like Uber in a product specialist role, and then going to a startup to become a product manager. So definitely lots of different paths. And then match your skills to the right role. So quickly, there's like a lot of different type of PMs, engineer, data, design, sales driven, and different companies look for different type of PMs. So Salesforce could look for a more salesy, business oriented product manager. Shopify would look for more like of a design, consumer focused PM. And then Google or Stripe could be companies that look for more of an engineering driven PM, because all about APIs and developer oriented products that you can be shipping at those companies. So look at which PM archetype kind of is best for you, and then try to pick the companies that will be best for your skill set. There's also different types of products within a company. So there's external and internal products, and internal products are actually much easier to get PM roles for than external, like at Facebook. A lot of entry-level PM roles are for recruiting tools or engineering tools or HR tools internally that we build for the company. So your customer is then like 50,000 employees, which is already significant, but you're now building kind of consumer-facing products like for Instagram. And I would say building consumer products is the hardest out of, internal versus enterprise products. So you can start in internal tools, you can start in enterprise, like Salesforce or Shopify, and then move to consumer products like TikTok, Instagram, Oculus, and things like that. There's also hardware versus software roles. There's pure infrastructure roles, again, good for the engineers in the room. You already know a lot of the basics, so you can work on developer tools, developer APIs. That would be a great place to start as a PM. Another is choosing your company. So companies are divided between kind of the drunken walk, which is that 10-person company where no one knows what they're doing and they're just trying to launch their first product, the product market fit, where we kind of know what we're doing, but we still need to prove ourselves. And hyper growth, this is probably like where Stripe is now, and Airbnb used to be in this category, Uber used to be in this category, where they're looking for just really resilient people that are okay with constant change. And then there's scale, more stable companies like Facebook and Google that have a lot more processes in place now, like those APM programs. So try to look at yourself and see, do I need more process, or am I okay starting out and just learning on the go, learning on the job? And that's how you can also match which career type, or sorry, which company type would be best for you to start out. 2 more tips, I think. The second last one is interview prep. It's super important. This is something that I missed, but it's an extensive interview process that usually takes 2 days, and there's 4 hours of interviews for product managers. Sometimes there's take-home assignments. You're going to get graded on design, technical execution, analytical, strategic, behavioral type questions. And then I can definitely send you guys some prep material that I've used as follow-ups if you're interested, but definitely don't miss out on the hours it requires to interview prep and do your mock interviews with people, usually online, that you book them through like a Slack channel. And yeah, lastly, hustle, doing things to make you stand out. So when I was trying to get a job at Shopify, I actually created a case study for them. No one asked me to, but I took one of their products, I used the product, and then I redid it and kind of came up with new solutions for how they could improve that product, and then made a website for it, and then presented that to the Shopify manager that was hiring me. So if you really like a company, especially a startup, I don't know if this will work for the Facebooks of the world, but especially startups and mid-sized companies, like you could really kind of hustle and sell yourself and your drive and kind of your hunger to learn and do a little bit extra to get that interview or to get that job. Cool, and I think that's it. Really try to run quickly through everything, but thank you so much. Here's my email and my website if you want to contact me with more questions, and I can take more questions here.
Hi, thank you so much, Angelina, for your insight and all the career advice, but I don't think we can do the Q&A session due to the time limit. And I would like to introduce our next event happening right now. So right now we're starting our next talk called I Am a Venn Diagram, Working in the Interface of Science and Business with Alison Gao. She'll share her journey and explains how she combines various STEM and non-STEM interests to find her ideal spot in the life science and the ecosystem, as well as discussing the options available to anyone. So, and the link is right now in the chat, so feel free to check out. And thank you again, Angelina, and feel free to share any social link like LinkedIn, and as well as she shared her email, if you'd like the audience to follow to stay connected with you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.